Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Hearthstone. We're live streaming today on April 15th, the day before Easter, and we don't have a lot of stuff to talk about. We don't have a lot of stuff to do. I need to get one more Paladin victory and then I just need to play a bunch of priest cards, and I'm kind of playing ranked right now, trying to get into that. So I want to stay with my deck that's been winning, this Murloc Attack Cry. We've got up to rank 18. If I could get up to rank 17, that will be the first time I've ever even bothered for that. I really only have video game announcements to talk about, and somehow I only took about a third of my announcements out last time. So somehow I managed to not... I thought I would just breeze through them all, because I have very little as far as information or data here. Let's see. I suppose what we could do is we can move around a little bit here. I've been distracting myself a lot, thinking of things I need to do, things I want to do. My Nook HD tablet's battery is shot, so I need to replace that for $30, or I've, after done some research, could possibly instead replace it with a Shield tablet K1, which is the 2013 version of the Shield tablet. The modding community is kind of dead slash dying, particularly for Android tablets, particularly since CyanogenMod fired all of its programmers, and then all of its programmers went over to Lineage OS, but Lineage OS right now hasn't actually made any ROMs, but for a few select models of very newer technology devices. So right now, as my Nook HD tablet is HD Plus tablet, battery is dying, there's really no way to get it above, I think, I don't know, maybe it's on KitKat, like JK, maybe it's on, I think it might be on Lollipop, but JKL, I don't think it's on Marshmallow. I don't think it's on Nougat, definitely. So you're talking two newer versions of the Android operating system not working. That being said, my other Nook, my Nook Touch Simple with Glow Light, if it's running anywhere that close to that version of Android, it doesn't even matter, because that's an e-book reader that has like nothing else that it can do, and can't hack that either, and I find that annoying. Let's see, I've got to save myself here. And so I've probably lost right there. And see, I was wondering last recording, just a few minutes for the live stream, how high could we actually go on playing this, and we're kind of seeing that I can go exactly rank 18, and that's it. And then I fall right back down to 19. Sure, I could get 3 wins in a row next time, as I continue here in standard play, but that might just bump me up to 17, and then I might fall down back to 18. Maybe that's what you have to do. Maybe you just have to constantly take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Maybe this deck that has a 54% win ratio right now actually is a good deck and can achieve that, but I don't know. The Shield Tablet K1 is a 2013 device, and you're still talking a 4-year-old device, and it's still about $200. The thing there though is it's a Tegra processor, which gives it a quad-core 2.2, 2.3 gigahertz ability. So, in theory, you might be able to put Windows on it, maybe, if you could find a way, and it would run pretty well. You might be able to put Linux on it, and it would run rather well. And if you leave Android on it, it's one of the Lineage OS models that they are putting out ROMs for right now. So, like, do I actually need a ROM? I'm not even sure at this point. Honestly, there's only a couple things I do with my tablet. It's kind of like my backup authenticator for Blizzard and such. So it's kind of my third screen, fourth screen. Like, my main screen is my TV that I use for a computer monitor. My second screen is, well, almost, maybe my main screen is actually my cell phone, because I probably spend more time looking at my cell phone. That's a close one. I don't know which way that's gonna go. But yeah, if I would say probably my second screen would be my cell phone. Then my third screen is probably Netflix on my TV, so it's the same screen but different services. And then I would say the next screen would be my same TV, watching actual cable television. And then I would put the tablet at there. So it's really, for me, kind of like my fifth screen as far as a device I would use. What does this do? Summons a 5/5 Devil Sword? Well, then let's not rush to kill it. So maybe I would probably just be happy. Like, right now, my cell phone, in the newest cell phone I haven't hacked, and there's really no mod, or I could get root back and it would let me run backups, and I would prefer that, but with the modern operating systems, there's a decent chance that you don't even need to do that. The enemy head is going to start getting really full with health, armor, 5 secrets, and a quest. And I assume they're only going to add more quests. So yeah, maybe I could just get a tablet and live with it, and just be happy with it. With whatever the default operating system is. That's what I'm doing with my phone, and it's not terrible. It's missing the features. A lot of it comes right down to, do I want to do something very nerdy, IT technical with it? Do I want to, like, run root Linux commands on my phone? And usually I don't these days. I've been through all that. It was interesting with the G1 in particular, since that was a new and exciting thing, but now I'm just happy with where it's gotten to. Do I want to kill this guy, or do I want to kill this guy? I think I can just win here. So before we do anything else, I'm just gonna do this and see if I win. So moving on back to announcements after taking a little bit of a break there. The next game we have is Omega Benoit? Omega... No, it's Omega Quintet, which is an idol simulator singing RPG. So Like, that's coming out on PC in 2017 at some time. I know this isn't during a daily quest here, but I want to keep playing, and since we got a win, because I don't want to. Well, I guess what I could do is, it wouldn't matter to go play as the priest and do casual play.
I will fight
so,
with honor.
Like, Omega Quintet coming to PC is an interesting game, at least on the face of it, because how many games are out there right now that I could play that are going to be about managing a pop singing group, a Japanese pop singing group, and fighting evil. I'll keep my eye out for it. It kind of all depends on what it ends up looking like and whether it really has as much appeal as the first beginning of it. Dragon Quest Heroes is coming out on April 25th for PlayStation 4 and PC. It's another Dynasty Warrior clone. So those are games where you play, in this case, Dragon Quest Heroes, and those Dragon Quest Heroes are going to run into large groups of enemies, and in those large groups of enemies they're going to hit the attack button a lot and do attacks, a massive area of effect attacks, and swing giant swords to kill things. The concept is very popular in Japan to have games like that. It's not as popular, I would say, anywhere in the Americas. So I'm not going to say anywhere else. That's probably inaccurate. But personally, for me, I've played a few Dynasty Warriors, and it just kills my fingers hitting the attack button so much like that. And I don't need to increase arthritis in my fingers because of games like that. So I don't think I'd ever play it, even though I kind of would like to play some games with Dragon Quest in it. I probably would rather just play the RPG games though. Let's just go down the list here. The NES Classic Edition has been discontinued, talking about hack projects, since that's really the best thing you could have ever done if you got your hands on one of those, is to have then turned around and hacked it with potentially hundreds of extra NES games into it. Not quite the entire collection of every single NES game that's available online could be squeezed on there, but you could do a lot more than the 30 that was on it by default. The thing, though, for me, and this is baseless speculation, is I suspect what they were trying to do there was pretty disingenuous. But what it was they were using up their inventory of Wii Nunchuck controller connectors. That they had a facility, probably in China, of Wii Nunchuck controllers from the Wii Nunchucks. And they knew they weren't going to be able to use any of those connectors for the Switch, because the Switch interface is just too big. You wouldn't be able to plug in what is effectively the same number of wires as a USB connector on that thing, unless you were going to put it as the power adapter, and add that. I guess you could have done. I guess that actually would have worked pretty nicely on the back of the Switch. But also, they didn't want to do that just for the simple reason that they were discontinuing. So they needed something that whether they announced it or not, and they kind of should have just announced it as a limited edition and had it signed by Shigeru Miyamoto, or had the box signed by Shigeru Miyamoto or something, and just said this was a limited edition thing. Now the way they've said it is that they're not shipping anymore for 2017, but we are not even halfway through 2017, so that pretty much means they're not shipping anymore ever, in most people's minds, and that would be the right assumption to make. Another hack project you could have certainly done with that is the internals of the Nintendo NES Wii Classic isn't actually that good of a computer. Its processor's not very good, it's pretty old, and there's not anything super special in there, and there's a decent amount of extra space in there. So if you'd just gotten one, taken out the internals, and put in a Raspberry Pi 3, you would have been doing better. That being said, a Raspberry Pi 3 is still probably not a powerful enough PC to run anything above a Super NES game. So don't expect to have like the Wii emulator in there playing Wii games. The most powerful Arduino friendly board I've seen in my short amount of research is called the Udo, which that is an Intel based chip with an Arduino attached to it on the side, so basically. And the reason why you would want the Arduino stuff is because you're going to have to wire, I suppose, the connectors to it. Unless, of course, you just put an entire mini ITX PC. If you could squeeze one, you probably would have to be something even smaller than a mini ITX, like a micro ATX. I'm losing here, so any chance or any thought of me getting higher than rank 18 is down the drains here. So that I know I'm very prematurely saying forget trying to play ranked, but this is certainly my experience and my feelings with playing ranked is that you just, because they've got it set so that you are trying to get close to a 50% win ratio, at best slightly better than 50% win ratio. I just don't ever want to spend the time to try to get around that. Yeah, if you could get an NES Classic Edition case and put an entire PC in there, you do better, and you can get USB and Bluetooth NES controllers, which, by the way, NES controllers aren't really very good to play with. They're sharp square edges with one D-pad, a start, select, and an A and B, which isn't really much of a controller. It's just nostalgia there. So when you start to think about it and look at it from, oh, okay, I want a really powerful PC that I could plug controllers in. Any PC is going to have USB. You can get USB controllers. If it has USB, why use an NES controller instead of like an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One controller or a PlayStation 4 controller? Why use any of those old controllers when you can do better? So you can have better internals, you can have better external accessories, and with a PC you can run more powerful emulators that could get you much further along. So from a project standpoint, the best thing you could probably do is find somebody that 3D prints a slightly larger mini ITX computer case in the shape of NES thing, an NES console. That's kind of the best I think you could do. And that's not really that good. So the whole project kind of falls apart. You might as well just build a PC. Build a PC in a regular case, paint the case to look nice. Now for Nintendo, getting back to Nintendo and their reason, like, they certainly have a better reason to sell it than anybody else, because now the only way people can get this is they have to wait for the Nintendo Switch to have a virtual console, or play games on virtual console games on the, what is it, 3DS? Is that what you, I want to say DSi, but I guess the 3DS is the newest portable and probably last portable console before the Switch, and the Switch technically is its own portable console.
Face the light.
So yeah, if the Nintendo Switch starts putting out all the things on the virtual console, that would be the legal way. Is that going to be the easier way? Probably not. Like, knowing Nintendo, it's probably a nightmare. Let's see. And we'll do this. And we'll do this. And then, darn it. So yeah, I think they should have definitely continued it. I wouldn't be surprised if around Christmas, and maybe that's what they're trying to do here, is they're trying to put an incredibly large buffer so people will forget by the time Christmas comes out. I wouldn't be surprised if they came out with a version 2 of the NES Classic Edition, had slightly different games, because some of the games that were on there, they weren't happy about it. Maybe it looked like the Japanese version, the Famicom instead of the NES. I don't think it would probably sell as much if they did that in America, but it would probably sell better in Japan that way. And honestly, that very well might be the reason why it's getting discontinued, is that the people in Japan don't have any nostalgia for an NES, because they had the Famicom that looked completely different, and the Japanese Nintendo only cares about Japanese sales, because they're crazy like that in Japan. Sometimes some corporations are, a lot of them are, even though the Japanese marketplace is only a fraction of the amount of sales you could get worldwide. That could be another reason why it's been discontinued. But my thought is that I wouldn't be surprised if there's a version 2 that has USB connectors on the front and nothing else has changed. It's almost possible to do that right now. Like, the connectors on the front are barely connected. They're just connected by wire, and a single plug per connector, and it is the right amount of cords to replace that with USB. And then there's a black faceplate that turns it. So they might want to do a little bit of reshaping to make the USB look better. If they go USB, they can also probably go with a lot longer length of cord, which that would make a lot of people happy too. But right now, by default, you couldn't just wire a USB connector to it, because the chip inside of the controllers it comes with is not a USB chip at all. It's something else. A cheaper chip probably than the USB chip. I'm not the person really to talk about it, but there is also a decent possibility that restore 5 health to your minion and someone else. And my face.
Face the light.
There may not be very high quality buttons or switches in the NES Classic controller either. I wouldn't be surprised if all of that equipment is really, really cheap. But it's a shame. They shouldn't have stopped selling it. They should have made a second version. Maybe that's what they're doing. Don't kill this guy. Darn it.
How many fingers do you see?
Dark Rose Valkyrie is coming out June 6th on the PlayStation 4. It's, I assume, part of the Valkyrie series of games, RPG military game. Let's see, getting back into announcements. I don't want to get into this. Let's see. Don't want to get into that. Don't want to get into that. We still have some things. Like, people are still playing Phantasy Star Online now, 16 years later. That's an interesting issue in the fact that it's probably one of the last games that you could do something like that, because it is probably the last game that had servers that were easy enough to emulate or replace. Nowadays, when people turn off the servers, there's so much craziness and server-side stuff going on that it's practically impossible, and they kind of make the games that way. Conan Exiles was kind of a good example of that. It's like, when those servers go down, or Rust, if all those servers, and you can't host your own servers on that, which I don't know if that's true for either one of those games, that you can't host your own server. Probably not true for either one. Well, he took it out. Let's see. Let's see what you can do with Prophet Valen. Yeah, when they decide to turn off those servers, the game is done. And I've run into a little bit of that, but not a ton. I've been erasing everything here too, so that's not what I'm supposed to do. Let's see. What do we want to talk about? There's a Rick and Morty GTA 5 mod that only adds Rick Sanchez in the spaceship and doesn't seem to add anything else. That, in particular, I think is just people jumping on the bandwagon of Rick and Morty.
In the light's name.
Oh no. You played this Lithope, which made my spells more expensive, so I couldn't play them. There was an article about making games for YouTubers. Personally, I'm not going to actually cover what's on the article, but it's a real bad idea. It might get you a couple spikes if you get lucky, but there's so many people trying it that it's not going to really succeed.
How many fingers do you see?
Can we turn this around? Or am I going to lose? Interestingly enough, I guess we are going to go 3 recordings here, but probably nothing else. Nobody's chatted. Today's a terrible day to live stream, but being the day before Easter. But I mean, I've got to do it when the 3 days of quest happens. Like, I could have done it earlier and done it yesterday on Friday, and would that have helped any? I don't know. People in the comments would have to let me know. Like, let me know the schedule that works for you, and I'll tell you if I can work around it. I can almost practically guarantee that if your schedule is much earlier than I have been studying, which is around 3 p.m. in Central Time Zone in the United States, then I probably won't work. I could go much later. I could start at like 10 p.m. Central Time Zone, but I wouldn't like that, because around 4 or 5 in the morning you get a new quest, and that very possibly could end up forcing me to play well into like 10 in the morning, as I would then be doing like 4 quests every 4 days instead of 3 quests. If I can heal everybody and this guy survives, there was a chance to win there, but no. The other thing is, I just needed to play priest cards, and I think I'm actually accomplishing that. So let's see, give a minion +2, draw a card. Why not? Put a couple spells on this guy, play those cards to get the quest done. And see, this deck has a 75% win ratio that's about to get knocked down for this loss. 9 damage randomly split between the enemies. Notice his ability shows that it's triggering but doesn't actually complete. The play order is a little odd for when it checks for victory. So we've done 15 of 30 priest cards, and then we're gonna kind of be done. I might break my rule and do an arena run here. We're gonna get 40 more gold, and I've already paid for 1 arena run, but it just kind of depends what I want to do. Anyways, that's it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.